Hey courageous Aries, August 29th, 2026 brings a powerful moment to pause and pay attention to what has been building inside you. You may feel a strong desire to move forward, change direction, begin something new, or finally make a decision you have been postponing. But before acting on that first impulse, give yourself enough space to understand whether you truly want this change or simply feel restless because something in your life has remained uncertain for too long. Your energy is naturally powerful, Aries, but your strength becomes much more meaningful when it is guided by intention rather than reaction. Think of your inner fire as a force that can take you far when you choose where to direct it. August 29th asks you to recognize what keeps returning to your thoughts, what unfinished matter continues asking for your attention, and which old pattern you are finally ready to leave behind. The question is not whether you have enough courage to change, because courage has never been your greatest problem. The deeper question is whether you are clear enough to know which change is truly worth your energy. Astrology and tarot cannot decide your future for you. They can simply provide symbols that help you recognize patterns, reflect on your choices, and ask yourself better questions. If something in this reading does not match your experience, you do not need to force it. But if a particular message makes you think, "This is exactly what I have been feeling," allow yourself to sit with that realization before immediately taking action. As August 29th unfolds, your attention turns toward love, money, career, health, family, friendships, and your personal direction. But first you need to understand how you have been protecting your own energy. Aries, independence is one of your greatest strengths. Yet being capable of handling things alone can slowly become a habit of carrying responsibilities that were never completely yours. You may automatically step forward to solve problems, defend people, make decisions, or keep everything moving, even when nobody has asked you to carry the entire situation. Eventually, this can leave you feeling exhausted while wondering why everything seems to depend on you. There is a difference between being strong and believing that you must always be the strongest person in every situation. You can care about someone without fixing every problem they experience. You can support another person without carrying their entire emotional world. Your inner fire needs direction, not endless fuel. When every outside demand pulls at your attention, it becomes harder to hear what you actually want. You may notice impatience, scattered thoughts, tiredness, or a strange distance from goals that once made you feel excited. This is why August 29th is less about proving that you are ready to act and more about deciding what genuinely deserves your attention. Do not become so available to every problem around you that you lose contact with your own dreams. Your plans deserve space too. You may also notice that dreams, memories, emotions, or unusual thoughts have been appearing more strongly lately. You do not need to interpret every dream literally. Instead, notice what feeling remains after you wake. Did something leave you hopeful, unsettled, excited, relieved, or thoughtful? Sometimes a dream simply gives your conscious mind another way to notice something you have been moving too quickly to recognize. If your surroundings have felt chaotic, resist the urge to answer every disturbance with more movement. You do not have to stay busy simply because stillness feels uncomfortable. Give yourself time to settle through quiet moments. Nature, music, reading, gentle movement, or simply being alone with your thoughts. Rest does not take your fire away. Sometimes rest helps you remember where that fire should actually go. Your ability to begin things, act decisively, and throw yourself into challenges remains one of your strongest qualities. However, Aries, there are moments when your excitement at the beginning of something is much stronger than your patience with the process that follows. A project, responsibility, career idea, or personal goal may have lost some of its original excitement because progress became slower, more complicated, or less immediate than you expected. But unfinished does not always mean failed. You do not have to complete everything you have ever started simply because you once committed to it. Ask yourself whether it still matters, whether it can realistically move forward, or whether you are holding on to it because walking away feels like admitting defeat. Sometimes courage means returning to something important and completing the step you have avoided. At other times, Courage means admitting that your energy belongs somewhere else. Look honestly at what remains unfinished and decide whether it needs completion, adjustment, or release. This same awareness applies to your well-being. You may have postponed a routine, appointment, personal concern, or something that deserves attention because another responsibility always seemed more urgent. But your well-being cannot permanently remain at the bottom of your priorities. Give yourself the same consideration you give your ambitions, and listen when your body and emotions ask for attention. In love and relationships, August 29th carries a softer and more reflective energy. Connection is not only about passion or knowing exactly what you want. It also requires slowing down enough to understand another person's emotional reality. If you are in a relationship, consider whether you have truly been communicating or whether you sometimes expect the other person to understand what you mean without you saying it. Patience, honest listening, and admitting that you do not have every answer can create more closeness than trying to remain completely in control. You do not need to turn every disagreement into something that must be won. You do not have to hide your vulnerable side simply because emotional openness feels unfamiliar. Allow the person beside you to see the real you, not only the strong version that always knows what to do and keeps moving forward. If you are single, there may be room for an unexpected connection or for someone to show interest in a way you did not anticipate. If this happens, do not rush to decide what the connection means. A strong spark can be exciting, but attraction alone cannot tell you whether two people truly understand and respect one another. Allow the connection to reveal itself naturally. Notice whether you feel comfortable being yourself instead of feeling that you must prove your value. A meaningful relationship does not require you to chase attention or constantly demonstrate your worth. It gives both people space to discover whether attraction is supported by trust, respect, curiosity, and emotional honesty. Now turn your attention toward money and career. The deeper financial question for Aries is not simply how much you can gain, but what deserves your time, effort, attention, and resources. You may have already invested a great deal into a career goal, business idea, project, or financial plan. August 29th gives you an opportunity to look at your current strategy and ask whether it genuinely reflects the future you want to create. Your instinct to act can be powerful, but action becomes much more effective when it has a clear purpose. Instead of chasing every possibility that appears, pay attention to what you have already been developing. An opportunity may deserve your consideration, but not every attractive possibility is automatically a breakthrough. Before committing your time or energy, ask whether it truly supports the direction you want your life to take and whether it has enough substance to grow into something meaningful. The symbolic cards surrounding your reading bring an important message. The Ace of Pentacles represents a practical beginning, an idea becoming tangible, or an opportunity that requires a real decision. For Aries, this card is not simply a promise of money. It speaks more about something that can potentially be built through patience, consistency, structure, and effort. It may represent a new project, professional opportunity, practical beginning, or a possibility that you have been considering for some time. The important question is not simply whether it excites you, but whether you are willing to give it the attention required to make it real. A promising beginning becomes valuable through what you do after the initial excitement fades. The Seven of Wands then asks you to look carefully at what you are truly willing to protect. You may encounter pressure, competing demands, strong opinions, or people who try to pull your attention away from the direction you have chosen. But the deeper lesson is not that you must fight everyone. It is learning which situations genuinely deserve your fire and which ones only consume the energy you need for something more important. Not every criticism requires an answer. Not every disagreement needs to become a competition. Not everyone who questions your choices deserves the power to change your direction. You can stand firm without living in constant defense. You can protect your boundaries without turning every boundary into another battle. Then comes the Star, bringing a gentler energy of hope, renewal, healing, and restored confidence. If you have been carrying disappointment, uncertainty, or emotional exhaustion, This card reminds you that strength does not have to remain tense forever. There is another kind of courage in allowing yourself to believe in possibility again after difficult experiences have made you more guarded. The star encourages you to reconnect with hope gradually and remember that your life does not have to be defined only by difficult things you have experienced. You may not have every answer yet, but you can still move forward with hope. Renewal does not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it appears quietly, when you suddenly realize that you are no longer holding yourself as tightly as before. The Fool also carries an important message for Aries. Its energy is not simply about leaping because you are impatient. It is about being willing to begin again when an old path no longer represents who you are becoming. It can symbolize a new direction, a creative idea, a professional venture, or an experience that takes you beyond what has become familiar. You may not be able to see every consequence before beginning, and uncertainty by itself does not mean a choice is wrong. Your lesson is to understand that courage and impulsiveness are not the same thing. You do not need a perfect map before taking your next step, but you should understand why you are taking it. Let curiosity work alongside instinct, and allow excitement to be guided by awareness rather than impatience. Finally, the Two of Cups brings an important message into your emotional life. This card represents mutual recognition, emotional balance, respect, and a connection where both people are willing to meet one another without one person needing to control everything. Its message can apply to romance, friendship, family, or even an important professional relationship because the deeper theme is reciprocity. Both people have a voice, both are seen, and both contribute to what is being created. If you are in a relationship, this energy can help emotional understanding become easier when both people listen instead of immediately defending themselves. If you are looking for love, you may become more attracted to someone whose presence feels balanced rather than someone who creates only a powerful first reaction. The most meaningful connection may be one where you can remain completely yourself without competing for attention or proving your worth. Aries, August 29th also asks you to pay attention to what your body and emotions have been carrying. If you have moved through a stressful or difficult period, you may begin to appreciate ordinary moments differently. A quiet morning, a peaceful conversation, time with people you trust, or simply feeling more like yourself can become more meaningful after a challenging period. You do not have to wait for everything to be perfect before appreciating what is already present in your life. Your natural instinct may be to push through discomfort and keep going, but your body has its own signals and deserves to be heard. Pay attention to your mood, energy, sleep, and emotional state, especially when several smaller pressures have been building quietly. Your resilience is real, Aries, but resilience does not mean ignoring your limits. Let strength include recovery. Let awareness include listening. Let caring for yourself become part of your progress. In family matters, the Two of Cups brings themes of understanding, emotional support, and greater respect. Certain family interactions may begin to feel warmer, especially where distance or misunderstanding has created tension. The goal does not have to be making everyone agree. Sometimes healing begins simply when people become willing to hear each other without immediately defending their own position. The Ace of Pentacles can bring a practical element through shared responsibilities, a household decision, or something constructive that gives people a reason to work together. The Star suggests that old emotional distance can soften when compassion enters a space where frustration once dominated. At the same time, the Seven of Wands reminds you that supporting the people you love does not mean absorbing every problem that enters their lives. You can care for your family without becoming responsible for every battle they face. As August 29th, 2026 continues, you may feel more aware of where your attention is going and what truly deserves it. Your natural drive remains powerful, but maturity asks you something different. Can you stay passionate without constantly forcing yourself into motion simply because standing still feels uncomfortable? Once you decide that something matters, you can put tremendous energy behind it. But sometimes stepping back is part of moving wisely. Rest does not erase progress. Pausing does not mean you have lost courage. Your determination becomes stronger when it is focused rather than scattered. The central message of August 29th is therefore about awareness, choice, patience, and intentional movement. You do not have to respond to everything immediately. You do not have to prove yourself to everyone. You do not need to know every detail of the future before taking the next meaningful step. In love, allow connection to develop naturally and look for mutual respect rather than simply intensity. In career and money, recognize practical opportunities but understand the work required to build them. Protect what matters without turning every obstacle into a battle. Allow hope to return where disappointment once made you guarded. And when a new beginning appears, remember that starting again can be courageous when you understand your reasons. Aries, your greatest message for August 29th, 2026 is simple. Pause, recognize, choose, and then move with intention. Your strength is not measured by how quickly you react to every challenge or by how much you can carry alone. There is another kind of courage available to you now. The courage to pause, listen, choose carefully, and then move forward with your whole heart. Once you understand why you are moving, your next step does not need to be the fastest one. It only needs to be the right one for the direction you are consciously choosing.